Astyanax and today I'm going to do a video response to Novabug on will there be gaming nostalgia for this console's generation? Or this, for people who grew up in this, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Right, so first thing I'm going to mention about this is there's going to be other problems that people growing up in these generations have that I didn't have growing up. I mean, there's development problems, obviously. I mean, games are huge these days and take millions, cost millions to make, when years ago it was literally just one person in a shop, but one or two people just in an office, just working for about a few weeks on a game, and that was it. And some of them was good still. Yeah, there was lots of bad games, but really felt like back then people had more care when it came to games than they do now. I mean, because there were small teams and knew what they was doing, there wasn't sitting there going, oh, you're not allowed this, you're not allowed to do this, you got to do it this way and that way. What happens with all these bigger games these days? So other things is there. So yeah, there's that. Game prices. Now, what I mean by game prices is games in the well, I grew up in the 16-bit era, from Atari, then jumped to the 16-bit era. Games was a lot more expensive back then, and they took a long time to go down in price. Now, these days, it's the opposite way round. Games now drop really fast in price, but here's the problem: you never, unlike years ago, you never get a complete game. And that's because of modern consoles have an obsession with things like download content and day one patches. And this is going to be one massive problem years down the line, this. Because anyone who's not nostalgic about these games, they won't be able to play them. Because the systems get more complicated over time, so they're more prone to breaking. They could shut the servers down, then all the patches you've no way of getting. Literally, the only way you'd ever be able to get them then is actually pirating the system, is hacking the system and putting like unofficial, unlicensed stuff on it to get it working. And whatever, then there's all the games that have been released for the 360. I'm just talking about 360, gentlemen. Over 100 360 games. These are live arcade games. These were download only. You could not buy them anywhere else. Have been removed from the Xbox marketplace. Now, some of these have been re-released under different names, like Doom and some of the Sega ones, because they changed publisher and then they came back. Well, actually, technically the old Sega ones didn't come back, but they come back as better versions and were like Streets of Rage 2 and things like that. But that's just where it becomes a problem. I mean, but have fun playing a game like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World anymore, because you cannot. There's no way you can play that game legally at all anymore. Well, you can play it legally, but you cannot purchase it legally anywhere because you got removed from the entire services on all systems, and it was never released on PC. So there's no like Steam hacked version, so you can just play a pirated version through Steam. There's nothing. The only way you're going to be able to ever play that game now is through emulation. That's really kind of sad, because that's a game that's literally now just lost. Now, if I had a PC version, it wouldn't be lost. There's at least a way to do it. But if they're stuck on consoles, there's no way to hack them. Yeah, people might be able to get hacked. People might be getting the data for them. But currently, at the moment, there's no way to play them. You're just screwed. You're really gonna have to wait until someone preserves all these games and play them through an emulator, because that is the only way people years down the line are gonna be able to play these games. I mean, at least with those games, yeah, they might be removed from the store, but if you're on their account, you can re-download them. And that's going to be another strange thing in the future. Are all game hard drives and game accounts going to be worth a small fortune because collectors want a legit non-pirated copy, non-pirated copy of or hacked copy of a game? So Suddenly that Scott Pilgrim you bought 10 years ago, now suddenly people might be willing to spend like £100 just on an account just to have a legit version of that game. I mean, collectors do that with box games. I mean, with is this going to happen with digital games that get removed and never come back? But then there's games that there's no way can never come back. For example, on the PSP, they had Sony had a digital comic store. And a later one, the PlayStation Mobile. Now, I'm sure most people don't remember the PlayStation Mobile, but it was part of the Vita. Now, just like the PSP, the comic store and the mobile and the PS Mobile, Sony removed both of them from each of the systems. Now, they didn't just remove them from the system, they made it so that you cannot re-download anything you purchased on if it costs money or not. If you don't have a backup of it, you've lost it forever. And you see, that's another problem with digital only. That can happen. I mean, I know one's a comic, but the PS Mobile games was actual games, and that's like 300 games of Vita that are just gone. It'll never come back. And there's other things that don't no longer people want nostalgia for getting hyped for magazines these days. Things knowing very little information about stuff, probably because of the internet. And most modern websites, big websites hyping games, talk complete nonsense. Yeah, they did back then as well, but these days it's terrible. I mean, just prime example. Just look at games like Evolve. Perfect example of that. Hyped up like crazy. Came out, everyone was disappointed. Now, yeah, we had games like Rise of the Robots back then. But here's the thing, Rise of the Robots, not everyone gives crazy reviews. All IGN and all give Evolve crazy reviews, even though lots of internet reviewers and people buying it give it negative reviews. And no one plays it anymore. So you can't. So that's another thing, nostalgia based that people have these days. There's no hype in magazines or anything because they're just hyped stuff so poorly these days. Anything remotely with a budget and gets hyped like crazy, so everything's hyped. So there's no importance to any game coming out. And you might as well just ignore all of it. Like I do. And then there's other ones. I mean, patches, another big problem. I mean, having to download massive patches when you boot a game up. It's annoying on PS3. Doesn't have an Xbox One and PS4. You do it in every game. And that's another reason why I think old machines are much better than newer ones, because you can just plug a game in and start in. I mean, I can't think of a single 3DS game out there, even though that has patches, and you can't play it without a patch. You just put the game in the cartridge and boom, you're in. Yeah, it might help downloading the patch, it might fix some bugs, but the game will still work without it. It's not needed to even boot the thing up. And that's the price thing's an interesting one though, I think, because games used to be more expensive. Now, when it came to the PS2, games started to get cheaper. While it wasn't much cheaper brand new, think of it this way: when they was going down in price, things started to drop down in price considerably faster. You go into I mean, when like games like Metal Gear Solid 2 were out for about 3 years' time, you get that game for about £2 or £3 used. That's not a long period of time compared to older games, and then it took way longer to drop than that. I mean, most of the best games available for current things like the 360 and PS3 cost very little. There's not many made of them, and they drop down in price so fast. So there's probably a lot of people growing up in that era. And just remember, the 360 and PS3 were around 10 years before the successor really came out, so they're going to be used to them prices. So they're not used to getting games cheap. They're not going to be used to not playing games for hours on end. And that's one of the problems. Online only games are going to be a big major problem in the future for people, because Oh, you can have all the best memories of games like The Division and Destiny as you want if you were growing up playing those games, but here's the thing, they won't work 20 years down the line. And due to them being MMOs, it's not like somebody can make an emulator and just emulate them and make them work that way either. So yeah, them games will be just lost altogether, and because machines are getting more complicated, the machines are also getting tougher to emulate, so if people want to get nostalgic over these games, they can't. I mean, the last machine probably to get completely fully emulated pretty much is the Wii. Now 360 emulation has started and I've got some games working on it, but here's the thing, PlayStation 3 emulation is incredibly difficult and hasn't got anywhere. And does Sony care? Not one bit. I mean, look, they just want you to buy all your games every single 5 seconds. Every time with new machines, they want you to rebuy every single game you've got because they're just greedy these days, which is really kind of sad. It's like the game developers have zero thoughts of preserving games these days whatsoever. It's like the game comes out and they just don't want anything to do with it anymore. It's like, I wonder how many games have been lost because of this kind of way of preserving stuff. I mean, even if a game like gets cancelled, companies will literally go out of the way to hide evidence, even video footage of the game even existing. Even if it never get finished or completed in any form. This is that. I mean, you don't see that with movies. I mean, you see concept art for movies and all, but if they filmed an entire movie, they wouldn't. Very few companies would just literally never air it. They'd be available somewhere or somehow. And then you've got other things going up, like it's going to be strange if you're a kid who follows age ratings these days. The games you're going to nostalgia for as a kid, it's going to be a very strange selection of games because here's the thing, all the big budget games these days are aimed at adults. They don't make big budget games for families or children anymore that are not on Nintendo systems. I'm not really counting sports and racing games, but even them have a lot of problems. A lot of them get higher age ratings because they put pointless swearing in them, which doesn't affect gameplay. I don't know why they put that stuff in, but I mean, prime example. I mean, believe it or not, in the UK, there's still actually magazines advertising magazines, gaming magazines aimed at children. But then you look at the front covers of every single issue, and it's got Minecraft, FIFA, Skylanders, Disney Infinity, or Lego on the cover. Them 5 games. That is all it ever has on the cover. I mean, that's really kind of sad. You think there'd be so much more available? I mean, this is a developer problem and a publisher problem. This isn't really a nostalgia problem, but it really needs to be fixed. It's kind of sad that literally all of family-friendly games with big budgets these days, not on Nintendo systems, all require action figures. You need to buy loads of to see all of it. It's just, I have nothing against those games, but something not all games should be like that. Games like that should be a special occurrence. Not the fact that they keep that, especially with the Sky stuff, it's going down. It's getting less and less sales every year. So people are getting tired of buying these figures over and over again, even though these people probably only buy 1 or 2 anyway a year, maybe. I'd just rather have the game on its own. And then that's another thing, I mean, nostalgia. How can people get nostalgic over all these just open world games? I mean, that's the reason why other nostalgia might not work for people these days. I mean, all games look very similar these days. Nothing new and original is coming out anymore when it comes to big publishers or hyped. It's just copies of what the previous generation's games were. There's zero originality coming out from the big developers. You really got to look at the smaller indie companies to even look at some of the unique games that actually aren't just ripping off bigger companies. Which itself is sad, but then you realise nearly all of the games are either first-person shooters or open-world games that are popular these days, and it's just really kind of sad. And I don't really like open-world games all that much, but I'm not really complaining at open-world. It's just the fact that open-world games, it's kind of hard to be nostalgic about because a lot of them look kind of the same. They all have the very similar mechanics to them. It's just run around, pick someone up, do this, do that. There's no like originality to them, and all the boring photorealistic graphics these days don't exactly make games memorable at all. I mean, people remember Sonic for how Sonic plays and looks. All Grand Theft Auto games might have different graphics, but just think about it, they all do look kind of similar. Visually, anyway. And all the clones do as well. And that leads into the other thing I'm going to say, which is probably going to be a weird one, this, but it's kind of related, but only... Then there'll be kids that, just because of these open world games, have so much random stuff to do and endless like stuff, and they're constantly like giving you like rewards and all, like, well done for doing this, and giving you a reward for doing anything, like how modern games do, like give you a reward for doing basically pressing start all the time. Always constantly giving you stuff to do all the time. Some of these people are nostalgic to older games these days. They might just be playing that one game all the time. I mean, they might just spend an entire childhood just playing nothing but Minecraft and no other game, because there's that much stuff to do in it, if you know what to do. Then you've got the old problem with phone games. I mean, phone games are another example of why this is going to be a bit awkward. I mean, if you were a kid growing up these days and you played nothing but free-to-play games on PC and tablet, here's the thing: most of those games, when you're about 20, will not be around anymore in any form whatsoever, because they all need the internet and servers to run. Even if most of them technically really just played single player. I mean, you don't play Candy Crush multiplayer, do you? But no, it needs a server still. If they'd shut that game server down and no one could play it. That's happened with lots of games on phones. As well, it's not just this one game. I mean, how many games have completely screwed up on phones because of this kind of stuff? A lot. I mean, Apple are always updating their iPhones all the time, so games even a few years old no longer work on them whatsoever. So even if it's a full price complete game on a phone, you've no chance it's gonna work on a machine a few years later. It's not like there's a thing called an Apple emulator, is it? So. This is why it's a big problem. And the problem is with a lot of these phone games is most of those people just throw the kids at them because they're free. Because yeah, just play until you've got so much money. Play until you can't, so it's actually spend money, and then don't bother and switch to something else. We'll have no nostalgia to any of them games because they're not playing them properly. They're just playing because they're bored. They don't have much thing to them. Most of the games are just massive cash grab machines, and well, you could say arcade games like that, but phone games are considerably worse for this than any arcade game will. Really, when you think about it. I mean, arcade games usually have an ending. You can just beat them. Most of these phone games, well, everyone knows you can't. And it's going to be hard to be nostalgic against them because none of them will work at all in a few years' time. Because there's that many of them, they're all just constantly trying to do the same thing all the time. I mean, for example, look how big Angry Birds was. Angry Birds 2 comes out last year, had loads of greedy free-to-play nonsense and made the game incredibly difficult, so it was actually a more unfair game. Nobody wanted anything to do with it, and that was a series that was massive for years. But these days, people care about it. Not really. I know it's getting a movie in a few weeks for recording this. Here's the thing. People have just lost interest in that thing, and will people 20 years down the time care about the series? I mean, it's not like there's any characters as such for the series, it's just some birds. That was interesting, his characters. Well yeah, this rant's gone on quite a long time, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I really don't think people, to put it shortly, I don't think a lot of people growing up with like 360 or Xbox One are gonna have much nostalgia for the games they played in 20 years down the line, because really most of them were just copies. Most of them be still being games be similar to them being made with just different names. Or they'll be just literally just copies with different names of them. Or there'll be no way to play the games whatsoever. Well, anyway, thank you for watching and listening.